And we are away. Why on earth are you wearing a jacket like that on such a lovely day? Yes, it is sunny, but it is deceptively cold. We are still in the midst of spring. I have already been caught out being optimistic, thinking it's going to be t-shirt weather, and quickly finding out that it is not. Anyway, welcome back to the channel, and thank you very much for joining me as I pose the question: is the Jaguar XKR, or indeed the RS as I'm in today, easy to live with? Is it a good daily driver? What is the ownership experience like? Now, I've done a handful of kind of more general reviews, but I want to dissect in a little bit more detail if this car is suitable for you and what it is like to live with from day to day. Now, you'll be able to see behind me that today I am in very good company as I go for a gentle drive with a Jaguar F-Type, which has the same engine as this in it, and also a lovely Lotus Exige. Now, I'm hoping the intro did a couple of things there which hopefully will be useful. First of all, you could hear the cold start. So that was the car not being used for 24 hours and then starting up. As I've said on my other videos, the XKR-S has got an upgraded sports exhaust system, and also I've had fuse 19 pulled. So upon that cold startup, a stock XKRS or XKR might be slightly quieter, might be slightly more neighbour friendly, because it's got that fuse 19. What does that do? Well, it means the butterfly valves are open upon startup, and also lower RPMs when you're driving, so it is a little bit more of a sociable neighbour feature. So the startup of the XKRS and an XKR with a stock exhaust system does have a little bit of a drone upon the initial cold startup, just while the engine injects a little bit more fuel for that cold idle, but it settles down pretty quickly. I'd say between 2 or 3 minutes the RPMs then drop to about 1,000, and it's not too obnoxious, if that is a deciding factor in whether you would purchase this car or not. It's been brilliant as lockdown has eased. Obviously we are still restricted to 6 cars going out, but the Jag has been out to a few kind of breakfast and coffee car meets. Obviously you can only kind of invite 5 other cars at the moment, so you've got to kind of hedge your bets, because somebody always can't make it, cancels, the missus has the hump so they're not allowed out, or they'll be in her bad books all day. So you have to sort of guess, right, who's going to pull out at the last minute? Shall I invite 6 or 7 cars, so then it allows kind of 2 to drop out and you'll have a group of 6. So it's all a bit silly. I can't invite sort of all my friends out at the moment, so you've got to sort of see who's busy, who haven't you seen for ages, but it has been absolutely brilliant. And obviously that is one of the awesome things about the XKR-S, is that it's so special, and it is always a special occasion to take it out. People love seeing it, people love hearing it, people that have no idea what it is and ask you about it, people that know exactly what it is and obviously know how rare they are. So obviously taking it to meets and car shows, which I'll certainly do more of this summer as everything starts to open up, is one of the brilliant sides of XKRS ownership. But what about the day-to-day livability? Well, actually, running costs are really not too bad. So I've had the car for just under a year. The dealership, or the second-hand dealership that I bought it from, serviced the car just before I bought it. So they did a relatively major service where the supercharger pulley belt has got to be done. So the larger service obviously is a little bit more than the minor service if bigger things have got to be done, but again, it's really quite palatable, and doesn't come with the costs associated with some higher end luxury cars and brands. I think we'll pull over here, just have a little walk around the outside of the car, just to get a little bit more information on the XKR-S. Now, if you are going to use your XKR or XKR-S every day, one thing you might be concerned about is the paint. and I've got to say I've been really impressed with the overall quality of the paint on the Jag. Aside from being a gorgeous colour and very unique, it's also soft enough so you can do a little bit of paint protection if you do pick up swirl marks, but actually hard enough to resist those swirl marks and to not pick up stone chips. I've had cars in the past where bumpers have been so low to the floor that picking up stone chips has been inevitable, certainly at highway speeds, and any petrol head will tell you that it can interfere with the ownership experience. If you're worried about picking up stone chips, should I get a respray, shall I leave it, I don't like how it looks, it's all peppered, etc. So I've got to say, overall the paint quality has been really good. Let's take a look at the boot. Now, despite being let down by its rather impractical rear seats, owing to its Grand Tourer DNA, the boots on the XKRs and the XKRSs are really quite big, certainly compared to their rivals. So that is a big win for the XKR on the practicality front. I mean, what do you need for the average weekend away? Rick Ashley's autobiography, a clown suit, a gimp mask, obviously a duffel bag full of old washing machine parts, the catalytic converter for an old Renault Megane, some battery acid and some rope and some lead weights. That is all going to fit into the boot of the XKR. Rear seats, okay, fine for baby seats. Adults, it's going to be a pretty uncomfortable ride in the back of there. Running two mates down to the pub, fine. Outside of that, probably not useful. Let's have a look at the brakes. So the braking components do differ in terms of discs, pads and calipers between the XK, XKR and XKRSs. So check your fitments and sizes for different years, for different models, certainly if you are buying online. If you're going to be replacing discs and pads through Jaguar, certainly for the 8 system, which comes with the XKRSs, it does become very expensive. We always expect the dealerships, or the stealerships as some people refer to them online, to be slightly more expensive. But with the RS, the discs and pads are particularly expensive. So either check that that has been done by a previous owner and they've got plenty of life left in them, or obviously look for alternatives. Don't scrimp out on brakes, okay? It's just not worth the money that you save. Because brake performance is obviously so important on all cars, but certainly high performance cars if you're going to be pushing it for fast road use. I went for Mintex Pads, which have not produced too much dust and seem to perform well, and then the discs are Pagid, which is a brand that I knew before Jaguar ownership. I had them on my Nissan GTR R35, so I knew that they were good parts. Now, a logical progression from brakes would be tyres. The XKR-S comes with the Pirelli P0s, which are really well suited to the car and perform really well. But you might have seen from previous videos that I have replaced the rears, which is obviously responsible for the outright grip of acceleration, with the Michelin Pilot Sport 4S's. From factory, the XKR-S came with the Pirelli P0. Nice firm sidewalls, gives really nice front end placement and accuracy in the steering. But for the rears, I just wanted a bit more kind of outright grip when accelerating. If you're going to translate 555 horsepower, I think it is, onto the road, you need something maybe a little bit softer and a little bit stickier, which the Michelin Pilot 4S's brought to the table. So to carry on the discussion of everyday drivability, exclusive to the XKR-S, we have got the carbon fibre front lip. Now, I have heard a couple of people quote what it costs to replace that from Jaguar, and it was so eye-watering I've sort of chosen to forget the exact figure. But again, for everyday driving, I've not been too worried about catching it on any sort of speed bumps or undulating roads or anything like that. So it is low, and you've got to be careful, and it is something that could pick up cracks from stone chips. but it isn't something I'm sat here kind of that worried about. Yes, it's going to cost a lot to replace if the one that you're looking at buying is less than perfect, if it's got lacquer peel, stone chips, whatever, but it isn't something that I'm having to be picky about which route I take to my destination, because I'm so worried that I'm going to crack or catch the front lip. Now, once again, owing to its GT heritage is the comfort. These seats are absolutely brilliant. I mean, they're adjustable in about every way you can possibly imagine, and it all gives rise to a very relaxing, very comfortable driving experience. There's lots of soft touch leather and the carbon fibre effect leather. Obviously, I mentioned the lovely blue piping and stitching in other videos. There's very little kind of cheap, scratchy piano black plastic. There is actually some on the centre console. I weirdly took mine out and got a friend to machine polish it back, and it got rid of all the scratches and swirl marks from the previous owner, and it came up really nicely. Other than that, everything has a really nice premium feel. The headliner, again, is a very nice black leather, which you'd expect from a car in this price range. Visibility is really good. There's loads of glass. You can always see exactly where you're putting the car. Manoeuvrability, I would say it's a very agile car. Obviously it's big, so if you are frequenting kind of underground car parks and things like that, so manoeuvrability and agility on sort of smaller roads and pooling around town, going to the shops, should not be points scored against the XKR. Although it's big, it's actually a very agile car and should not be a problem. My stance is that if you're looking for a daily driver, the XKR is the absolute sweet spot, purely due to the price difference. If you're looking for something extra special to show at events, then the XKR-S is the winner, but the ideal affordable daily is the XKR. Other points against the RS as a daily? Well, the sound system is good, but why they didn't integrate Bluetooth into the stereo system, I will never understand. The climate control system and stereo is a little bit outdated for today. It suits the car, it suits the characteristics of the car, it's nicely integrated, but it's maybe a little bit slow, has a little bit of a retro feel to it. One thing that it is missing is cruise control. Surely on a Grand Tourer you would have cruise control for those longer journeys. What it does have is a speed limiter. So you set the speed limiter to 70 when you're on the dual carriageway, and you know that if you're going through an average speed camera zone or something like that, that you aren't exceeding 70. So you can set the maximum speed that the car can go, but it hasn't got cruise control, so you've obviously got to keep your foot on the accelerator at all times, and I think it would have been a nice addition for a car that is so well suited for longer journeys. To counter out that con and what I said about the size of the car and manoeuvrability earlier would be the pros of firstly the rear reverse camera, which is fairly nice resolution, allows you to see what is going on behind you, and would pick up anything that the parking sensors, which is another plus, haven't picked up yet. Parking sensors are fairly accurate, and again very useful for those kind of low speed tight space manoeuvrability in your garage or an underground car park. And then thirdly, in that kind of package, would be the automatic dipping side mirrors. I'd imagine a lot of modern cars have these, but for the time, considering the age of this car, that was a really nice feature. So as soon as you put it into reverse, the wing mirrors will automatically kind of push out a little bit and then dip down, so you can see what the rear tyre is doing, so you can place the side if it's into a car parking space. And also something that petrol heads are always grateful for is it lowers your chance of curbing your alloys if you are reversing alongside a pavement, which is always nice. Right then folks, I hope that was useful to those that are interested and potential buyers. There are lots more videos coming out now on this and other cars that I'll be doing road tests on now that the world is opening up and we are out of lockdown. So whilst this Sainsbury's van decides what it wants to do, oh British roads, all that is left to say is thank you very much for tuning in. I always appreciate your time. loving the comments, loving the feedback, even those that are talking about that blue suit, which really upset some people. So that's definitely going to be making a return if it's prompted that sort of response. But overwhelmingly 95%, even if people are having a little bit of a jab and a little bit of a making fun of me, I'm loving the comments, so thank you very much for that, and I will catch you in the next video.